down, get a sack, be able to get another sack, okay, on fourth down. And then from there, you've not only won 2 minutes, but your offense goes back out. Now you're able to win the middle eight. Now you go from winning the middle eight to being able to win a game, and that could be the game that you need to start a domino effect and being able to win a championship. So one rush can change your life. But before that rush changes your life, you've got to begin with the end in mind and being able to put that work together. Okay, so before we talk about the jab, all right, everything should be threatened with speed, okay? A wise man once told me this. Marcus West, he coaches for the Tampa Bay Bucks right now, was with the Bills last year, but even as a player, he would say everything is threatened vertical. Everything is threatened vertical. Even before I went to the NFL, right, he would always say a quote. He would say the draft pick can throw the fastball, okay? So with that being said, I don't want to see, and I know I've got some young guys on this thing right now, some coaches, some older coaches. I don't want to see guys getting off the ball and just go right to shaking, go right to the hezzy, go right to the jab. No, everything's got to be threatened vertical. Everything's got to be threatened with the get off, right? So before we even talk about the actual get off portion, I want to hit on this stance and start. And the reason why I'm hitting on this is because when I was younger in my coaching days, I struggled with being able to teach the most simple thing ever. And it was just pass rush stance. As a player, you're like, oh, like, you got to load that thing up, put your hand in the dirt, and you got to coil up and get ready to get off the ball. But how do you teach a 17-year-old kid that? How do you teach a 16-year-old kid that who doesn't understand and can't conceptualize pass rush? Because guess what? He's coming from a place where football is not as important as other things, okay? And this is what I came up with, all right? Here's my pass rush stance checklist, okay? Number one, my feet should be shoulder width apart. As I get in that stance, I don't want to be too wide. I don't want to be too tight. And for my guys who are 6'7", 6'6", 6'5", all the way down to 5'11", that stance might differ a little bit based off of my shoulder width, okay? From there, I want to make sure that I've got a toe-to-heel stagger. All right, now everybody stop, okay? Last year, I had a dude who was freaking 6'8" in my room, and I had a dude who was also about 6 foot in my room. So that toe-to-heel stagger is going to look a little different from my guy who's 6'8" versus my guy who's actually 6 foot. It can adjust and vary on body type, okay? But we want to make sure that we're getting ourselves essentially in a sprinter stance to be able to take off that ball, all right? Number three is 78% of my weight on my upfield foot, all right? I want to put weight on the ball of my front foot. And the reason why is because if I focus on that, I can eliminate the false step, especially when I'm in a 2-point stance, which is just lifting that hand off the dirt. I'm going to have 22% of that weight on that down hand. And with that offhand, I'm going to have it in a ready position. I don't want to have my offhand anywhere where it will hinder my movement. I want to make sure my offhand is in the hip, my offhand is in front, but no matter what, as I get off the ball, I want to make sure that I'm fluid and being able to have my stance and my start with my offhand protecting the near pec as soon as I'm ready to go ahead and fire off with my get off. So, a couple of clips of how this thing should look. All right, let me go ahead and let me do this, okay? Make it look sexy a little bit so you guys aren't worried about that little black dot at the bottom of the screen. There we go. Boom. Let's start this thing over. All right. Check out my man number 5 on the right side. We got Kayvon, okay? And I think that going through my coaching journey, you go ahead and you meet guys who epitomize some of the things that you teach and you coach. I think 5 epitomizes the get off at a high level. So what my man Kayvon is doing right here is he's got that front foot loaded, about 78% of his weight on that front foot. He's actually driving off too right here with that back foot, which I'm not opposed to talking about. All right. I just don't teach my guys that all the time, okay? But you can see as he gets off the ball, that near knee triggers him. He's off right now, and he beats that offensive lineman to his set point. All right, now the offensive lineman's shoulders have to go vertical, and he's in panic mode. There's no need for a jab right here. Everything being threatened vertical is the whole portion of the get-off piece that's going to allow us to be able to jab later. What he ends up being able to do is bend, bore, reach, and literally take the ball away from the quarterback sitting there in practice. So this get-off right here epitomizes the fact that everything is threatened vertical with speed before we get into anything else, all right? Case in point, let's go back to him in a game setting, okay? Same exact deal taking place right here. We're hopping from 4 down to 3 down, all right? He's in a 9 technique. I actually don't like this first foot right here, okay? This first step, all right? You guys see how he false steps right here? He's shifting that weight around. But the thing that goes ahead and redeems him is the quality that he's timing that thing up. So when he sees that near knee move, he triggers. He's able to get off the ball, beat the offensive lineman to his set point, bend, bore, reach, finish, sack. Done. Let's go one more time right here, okay? Now he's in a 3-point stance, and we can kind of see that load even take more shape, all right? As he gets off the ball right here with this near knee on the get off, he decides to go ahead and flash. We'll talk about upper body. We'll talk about hands, different things like that with the offensive lineman, horizontal shoulders versus vertical shoulders. But right here, we can see again, he's put the offensive lineman in a point in a predicament to where he's got to make a decision. He's threatened by the get off and the speed of 5. All right. 5 goes ahead and stacks that offensive lineman. He's able to bend, bore, reach, finish, and close on that quarterback with the utmost amount of violence. Okay. Same things happening on this right side. I think I saw a TB up in here. Okay. These is his boys over here getting after that shit. All right, here we go. Work with the cross chop on this thing right here. But the thing that goes ahead and threatens that offensive lineman is that get off, that trigger off that near knee, that reach, and that close on the finish. All right, and last but not least, I think I'm going to end with my boy Ja right here. Okay, with this picture, and this is one of my favorite ones of the get off because you can literally see the near knee pull Ja with him with an invisible string to be able to beat the offensive lineman to the set point. Ja gives a slight flash, but he bends, bores, reaches, and then we're off the field to stop Illinois from going ahead and getting to the playoff 2024. Okay. So that get off portion is critical, right? That get off portion is critical. And that's where we kind of go ahead and we start with everything before we get into this jab or this bite step. All right. If everything isn't threatened vertical, guys, you can't jab and you can't bite. Okay. Now, from a teaching progression standpoint, I want to make sure that we understand the why. Okay. The why. Why do we jab or why do we bite? Right. The number one thing to do is the number one thing we want to do is shorten the edge on the jab or the bite. Okay. We're doing that to get an offensive lineman to stop his feet, all right, set, and then go ahead and shoot, all right? We want to go ahead and threaten him off of that. We're looking to expose horizontal setters, and we're thinking chess, not checkers, all right? You're like, coach, what the hell is chess, not checkers? You're thinking situationally. It's what we talked about before. If I just went ahead and beat a guy in a one-on-one with a bite and go, the next time I come back in my one-on-one, I want to go jab olay. I want to go in and out to start, and then I might want to go in, out, in on the second one. Or if I start off and I go in, out, in on the jab olay to start, I might want to come back and go in and out on the jab olay. After that, you start playing with the offensive lineman a little bit. His mind starts to melt. He feels like he can never be right, all right? And I always tell my guys, fat dudes don't like to think, and fat dudes don't like to bend. So if you got a dude out there thinking, and then you're pushing him to bend based off the amount of bending, boring, and reaching that you're doing, now he's melting from inside out and being able to try to stop and combat the rush. Okay, so that's why. All right, but before we go any further, I want to show horizontal shoulders, all right, just from an example perspective, okay? Because a lot of guys might not know what that means. When we're talking about horizontal shoulders, we're talking about an offensive lineman's shoulders not changing from the parallelism towards the line of scrimmage, okay? So watch my right guard right here, all right, going against number 10, Sweaty, okay? We see that offensive lineman never go ahead and turn vertical, which he shouldn't as a guard. He should be able to stay as horizontal as humanly possible to protect that inside A gap and be able to move back and forth laterally. But we see 10 go ahead and attack that horizontal set. He jabs with a bite. He finishes on the short corner, and he's able to go ahead and get the sack with the reach at the end of that thing right there. If he was to talk about vertical shoulders, all right, or we were to talk about vertical shoulders, excuse me, watch my man Calais right here on the right. When Calais threatens the set, he's working a little bit more vertical with his rush angle right here. But you can see that tackle go vertical right there to protect that inside gap, okay? But now he's opening himself up for a counter, possibly a text game, or to be able to go ahead and see power from 93 right there at that portion, all right? So when we're talking about the horizontal shoulders of an offensive lineman, we're talking about shoulders that are parallel to the line of scrimmage. Therefore, we're going to attack that set with speed, all right? That jab, that bite, being able to work around that short corner, okay? Now, we just talked about why. Let's talk about what we're teaching. And this is just how I teach it at Michigan State. Nobody else has to say, oh, Coach Debo only believes in calling it this. No, 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 no. This is just how I teach it, okay? A bite and go is going to be the first move we talk about, okay? And that's going to be the in and out motion, all right? When you're working a bite and go, you want to approach the offensive lineman selling speed. We just talked about that. You want to step on his toes and you want to buy his eyes. You want to look to finish on the outside half with hands and a push to move. When we're talking about a push to move, we're talking about that bite on the inside foot, being able to take that weight, focus it on the inside instep, and then being able to push to move to win back on the outside half of that offensive lineman. A bite and go is where the jab series starts. Okay, that's that simple crossover that you're going ahead and you're working. All right, you're getting that guy to go ahead and bite off that in and out motion. Okay, it looks like you're almost carrying on the basketball court to go ahead and buy his eyes. What I tell my guys is like head and shoulders. Okay, I won't say explicitly what I always say, but I say head and shoulders on the bite because that's what the offensive lineman is focusing on. Okay, 99.9% of the time. After that bite and go, we're going to look to get to that jab olay. That jab olay is going to be that in, out, in motion. Okay. So this is meant to capitalize off of that bite and go. You want to sell speed vertical to look like it's a bite and go, step on the toes outside, but instead of winning on the outside half, you want to take the space you created inside. Okay. Say that again. You want to take the space you've now created inside. So when that happens, I usually tell guys to go ahead and create width with their alignment, widen out a little bit if you want to hit these moves with the jab olay mindset. But if you want to bite and go, you can tighten down a little bit to go ahead and create the space where you want to win. You guys understand what I'm saying? Guys are blowing up the chat. Hold on, let me see if I can get this mouse over here to the chat. All right, answer some questions on this thing right now. Okay, what we got? What do you teach the player to jab? Post foot or outside foot and wide or crotch? I like crotch. Okay, I like crotch, and you'll kind of see why in a second. And the reason why I like crotch specifically, I tell them the outside nut, is because I don't want to step too far down to where an offensive lineman can capture me. Now I'm in the strike zone. I'm playing towards their strengths because I'm too close. All right, I'm too close. If I want to jab and I really think that I can get him and I can work across his body, then I might be able to sell a little bit more. But I always teach crotch as a starting point because we might not be able to play around with these guys like we think that we can in the first quarter, but we can come back in the third quarter, offer the crotch jab, and then be able to sell it a little bit more. Good question, though. All right. I'm going to keep on rolling. One more thing that we want to go ahead and look to teach. Okay, a hip slide. All right. What about a normal up and under? Okay. So these are for all my young guys that are on this thing that are like, well, coach, what if the offensive lineman just oversets me? Period. That's cool. I'm with it. Okay. I'm with it. All right. A hip slide is just speeding in. Speeding in. All right. Offensive lineman sets over my line now versus speed. That's where the hip slide is going to come into play. I'm going to press off that upfield instep. Okay. I'm going to push to move inside with violent hands. So we'll talk about all three of these things. All right. Going into it, okay, we want to build the fundamentals. So I never just go in and teach moves. I never do. We don't just go out on the field and say, hey, we're working these moves before we work any of the fundamental portion of it. Okay. The first thing we're going to do is fortify the footwork. All right. Footwork is always the foundation of everything, okay? If you don't have the right footwork, you can't get into these moves. If you can't get into these moves, there's no point in us talking about. Okay, so the footwork has to be fortified first. I'm looking to teach fluidity within the rush. I'm looking to teach with a basketball mindset, head and shoulders, upper body. We just talked about that. I'm talking about crossovers. I'm talking about ins and outs because those are the most relatable things to these young people and being able to rush the passer, okay? We'll talk about two different things, all right? Off-body footwork, which is when I'm working footwork with nobody working a move at all, no contact, no combat, nothing taking place with my upper body except for just the motion that I'm working with on my footwork, and then on body footwork, and that's adding hands to the feet. That's combat. So as simple as I can put it, off body footwork is when I've got my bags, my speed cones, my speed sticks, and I'm just working on air. On body footwork is when I'm adding actual moves to the end of those drills that we just worked with the off body. So now I'm adding a swipe to the end of it. I'm adding this to the end of it. I'm adding that to the end of it. Okay, being able to work off of that. All right, and somebody's drawing on my on my little presentation. I don't know how you did that. That was pretty cool, but there you go. Okay. Before we get into anything else, all right, specific drills, I want to talk about this soundbite coaching. This was taught to me, all right, and I'm on this thing to be able to teach other coaches. Okay, don't get into dissertations on the field when you're talking about these drills. All right, as you go through these drills, y'all can record them, you can see them, you can take them, do whatever you want to do with them. Okay, all right, I'm here to get back to the game, but what I'm going to say is this. All right. Don't sit there and tell a kid a million things while they're out there doing these drills. Here's some sound bites that I've came to when I'm working these drills. Hey, push to move. That's when I want them to gain more ground. Push to move. Hey, firecracker feet. That's when I want active feet. All right. In the rush, you've got to keep active feet. I want to keep active feet in these drills. Firecracker feet. Hey, flash a hand or pass rush posture. All right, nipples at a 45, you're too erect. Those are the coaching points for that. And then again, head and shoulders, okay? Head and shoulders. I want to be able to literally, legitimately work that bite as I'm working this thing or working the in out in to be able to get them to buy and believe that I'm actually taking it. All right, so here's some of the off body footwork. Okay, off body drill work we're talking about here, and you guys are gonna be like, "What the hell? This isn't groundbreaking." No, it's not. Not from the beginning of it. Okay, I will start my guys off with a speed ladder 10 times out of 10. 10 times out of 10. The only reason I really didn't last year was because those dudes are the top percent of the top 1% of the 1%, and they don't legitimately need a speed ladder all the time. All right. But at the college level, at the high school level, I'm really, really big into being able to utilize that speed ladder because it shows guys how to be able to move. All I'm teaching right here is that icky shuffle. All right. It's nothing special about that icky until you get to the end of it. When you get to the end of that icky shuffle right there, I'm teaching guys how to bend, board, and reach for the ball. Okay. You saw that Ja Joyner clip right there against Illinois where we got a forced fumble to be able to win the game. Okay. And all that was because it was consistent repetition and instinctual mindset to go after the ball at the end of all these drills. So you'll see as we go through the end of these drills, all right, a lot of my guys will look to reach for the ball. We just talked about the push to move portion of that thing. And from an icky shuffle mindset, okay, you're pushing off of those insteps, okay, back and forth. Now I got them working the ball of the foot with the ollie shuffle. And where this comes into play is being able to actually maintain pass rush posture as you work. Now, this is Danny Strigow, plays for the Jacksonville Jaguars right here. The next guy up is Kyler Ball, plays for the Steelers. But between these two guys, what I would say is make sure that you keep tighter pass rush posture with your hands. We want to beat the drum, keeping hands tight, or we want to be able to make dough because what that's going to allow us to do, excuse me, is going to protect the near pec as I actually legitimately start to rush. All right, I'm not doing an Aquafina commercial, y'all. I need a little bit of water. We're going to keep this thing pushing. Okay. Now, from there, okay, as soon as I teach the basic movements, all right, we'll get into the actual jab portion. I'll put the speed codes down. The guys will understand right here. And for whoever just asked me about where we want that jab to be, okay, I'm visualizing right now that the crotch is the speed cone. So when you see these guys jab, you see right there how he's jabbing outside of really that left nut, okay, that guy's left testicle right there. That's where we want that jab to be. All right, we don't want to step too far across that offensive lineman's body, all right, because we don't want to put ourselves in a predicament, okay, where we're compromised, all right? And somebody's on the other side of the screen laughing like, oh my gosh, coach is so vulgar with that. No, I'm being specific and I'm being detailed about where I want the foot. That's where I want the jab, okay? That's where I want the jab. And you can see right there, it's head and shoulders with it. You can see him start to go ahead and change the level of where his body is, all right? And then at the end of that thing, you see the bend, the bore, and the reach. The reach right here was lazy with the off arm. Okay, but as you see it and we go through this deal, you'll see that thing gets accentuated a little bit more right here, all right, with that reach portion of that deal, okay? Same exact thing is taking place right there with the bite. You see Kyler was struggling with it a little bit, but you're going to see film that shows he actually ended up getting that thing at the end, all right, being able to put it into game mode a little bit. Strigow doing the same thing right here, being able to bend, bore, and reach on the finish. Okay, now it's like a flashback right here. I'm taking it back to my days in Eugene. Okay, we just worked on the ladder, we worked on the speed cones, and now I'm taking this thing to speed sticks because eventually I want to build this thing up to where guys are focusing on, right, being able to actually work that half a man. And when they do that, it's not going to be them looking at a speed cone or them focused on a little thing on the ground. It's going to be them actually seeing a whole body in front of them. That's why I love the speed sticks because it simulates body presence, okay? It simulates body presence, all right? We can see the bite taking place right here from 3. And really, I don't think that this thing is as smooth as a bite as I want it to be, but you can see the active feet between 3 and between 95 and their ability to be able to shift their movement back and forth, okay, between their insteps and the ball of their feet. All right, so that was a really, really smooth look at that deal right there. This is a better look at the bite right here by 3. You can see him look to bend. You can see him look to reach. We weren't doing too much boring back in them days, baby. We weren't doing too much boring, all right? Now, let me stop this deal right here. You get to these speed sticks and you're like, all right, coach, well, we just bit on both sides. What do you want me to be able to do next? I want you to be able to teach them how to weave now. So now we're just getting into the fluidity portion that I was talking about. Now we're kind of getting in the mindset of like, it's Rocky 3, baby. I got to teach you how to dance a little bit more than you've been able to in the past. I've got to teach you how to hit a little bit stronger than you've been able to in the past. And now I've got them kind of in the mindset of being able to weave and slip and be able to win. You see my man Noah Sewell, okay, over there to the right of the screen trying to get it down on air. All right. But Brandon, okay, and Keon are doing a really good job of this deal right here, being able to look to actually weave to bring themselves through the cones. Now, what 3 is doing is this. He's practicing and visualizing a cross chop across the body. And I know we're not focused on the cross chop today. We're talking about the jab. But the thing I will say is this: when the guys get really good at the speed sticks, all right, allow them to be able to work that upper body motion on air on the sticks and make sure that they stay skinny so they can go ahead and bring that thing around. They end up pointing the toe both at the same time on the finish portion. Okay. Now we're just getting different variations of work. All right. So we talked about the jab, we talked about the weave, and now we're going ahead and we're working that swipe portion of that deal off of the bite. Okay. So now we're slowly adding upper body motion, okay, to the off body footwork while keeping active feet. All right. I don't love 3's feet right there. Okay. Check that out. All right. 3's feet, stack that thing about 2 or 3 times. I like 95 a little bit better because he's efficient with his feet and his movement, and he's not stepping across. The only step that happens across is right there. He's off a daggone bad ACL, a bad knee. I think these other 2 are pretty daggone good. Okay. Here's the weave when it's widened slightly, okay? And this is really teaching the bend portion of that deal. We're working the cross chop on the upper body, okay? 95 is just touching on the bottom portion, but he's able to go ahead and work to bend, gain ground to the left side and the right side of those speed poles, all right? Now, I'm going to stop and I'm going to pause, okay, because we got some questions in the chat, all right? Here we go. Got a slide, coach. This was wonderful. All right, love you, dog. Appreciate you, baby. Okay. Look, he didn't even know he's slowing down the presentation saying he got a slide. All right. Here we go. Look, the last one I really want to talk about with off body, okay? I really like right here. I ended up seeing in the summertime my boy MRJ, all right, with the Vikings kind of showed us this one, okay, off of a pass rush circuit. All right, now I really love this. Okay, the reason why I love this is because it literally isolates the head fake on the bite, all right? And Devin, okay, does a really good job of being able to sell that thing with head and shoulders and be able to go ahead and take a step to gain ground off of that instep right there to be able to reduce his shoulders to win, okay, off that bite right there. And go ahead and attack the outside half of the man. The only thing I don't like is right there. Okay, he's stepping under himself and spinning. That's a 325-pound man right there, being able to move with a high amount of velocity on the head fake. I like that portion right there. Okay, here we go now. Okay, we get to on body footwork. All right, and we're getting through this thing a little bit. All right, on body footwork. I'm talking to guys about pushing the move. Again, I'm talking to guys about firecracker feet. Again, I'm talking about protecting the near pec now, though, a little bit more than pass rush posture. Why? Because we're actually throwing moves on the finish of our footwork portion. That's why I'm telling them to prepare to protect the near pec. All right. After that, I'm talking about violent hands and then throwing in pass rush posture. Okay. At the end of that, tagged on. Now, on body footwork. Essentially, what I'm doing right now is I'm making sure that they have hands on the finish of the on-body footwork. So as I'm teaching them how to move left, move right, how to bite in and out, how to bite in, out, in, okay, how to hip slide, reactionary bite, okay, and jab, I'm teaching them how to go ahead and throw hands to protect themselves on the finish. This is a really good job in 91, being able to show the fluidity, being able to show where the weight should be, okay, on the ball of his foot, picking his feet up, being able to stop on the drop of a dime, and then being able to go ahead and finish that deal right there. From that long drill, I'll condense the drill, okay, keep active feet, but then I'll get guys to reallocate their weight and be able to plant on that outside foot right there to get ready to work now, working outside and coming back inside with a violent change of pace with the club, okay, attached to that near hip. And then you can see right there, he ends up giving me a little baby bend and bore, all right, but then that reach happens at the end of that deal right there. The biggest portion of this drill, okay, and why this drill is so important isn't only the active feet, but it's that plant right there. That plant allows him to be able to shift his weight to the outside and then violently work back inside off the club, okay, attached to that near hip. Same exact deal's happening right here with 9-7, and he turned out to be like the jab olay king a little bit, okay, being able to shift back right and left, working that thing with the threat of the offensive lineman, okay, but you can see him plant that outside foot, land on that thing, and then be ready to burst back. That's a better bend, a better bore, and a better reach, okay? After that, we can actually start to get jiggy with it a little bit. All right, and this is where I was focusing, okay? Because my man just talked to me about the bite portion of it and how far they should actually step, okay? This is actually a little bit further than 97 should go. But my rebuttal to that, while I'm poking holes in my own theory, is this. When you watch him later on in the presentation, you'll see the legitimate threat that he gives, okay, and how violent he is working with his head and shoulders and how it captures the eyes of an offensive lineman. What a wise man once told me was, tell a story so good, the offensive lineman has no choice but to believe it. It's like you're telling that lie. You snuck in the back door and you told your mama you were home all night last night. No, you were dead wrong for that. You snuck in the back door at 1 a.m. You weren't supposed to do it, but you told a lie that was so good she believed it. That's what we're looking to do right here with these offensive linemen. 97's telling the lie so goddamn good, okay, that offensive lineman has to sit, set, shoot. He's able to bend and win around that near corner right there with the outside half bite and go. Same thing taking place with 91. He's got to tell a story so good that offensive lineman believes it. And he's able to tell that story. He's able to go ahead and win around that corner. All right. I'm going to pause right there, okay, with the ability to answer one or two more questions. All right. There's some nice stuff, Coach. I appreciate that, dog. Hell yeah. Okay. All right, Sam, would you say, could you argue that you must truly jab at the post foot two versus the best competition because it'll be the only way that he respects it? I mean, I guess that you could. Do you like jabs off of vertical or tilt or slight tilt? Now, this is what I'll say I learned in the league last year. Everybody's body type is different. So having a jab off of a vertical alignment, off of a tilt or a slight tilt is all based off of what you're trying to go ahead and accomplish. If you got a really, really good guard that's good at covering space, you might want to be sharper in your angle of your alignment. If you've got a guard who's kind of like a fish a little bit, you might be able to widen out, get a little bit more neutral, sell it upfield slightly before you jab and win around that short corner. Okay, Sam, you got what I'm saying? So hopefully that answers your question. I'm going to keep trying to roll, answer questions, and continue to roll through the clinic, all right, while I kind of work with you guys there. I love it, though. Keep poking holes at it or answering or asking questions as well, okay? Right here was really simple, and I put this in here, all right, because some high school coaches only have the small pops, all right? And the reason why I like the small pops is because I felt like it made these guys focus their hand placement when they worked on coming back inside. So I'm giving a hip slide type of mentality to my man L. My man L is threatening this thing with speed, and what I'm telling him to envision right now is that offensive lineman has covered him up and he's setting over his set right now. He's trying to cut the engine on that boy. So if he's trying to cut the engine, I'm going to plant that outside foot. I'm going to gain ground laterally. I'm going to go ahead and transfer my weight towards the inside portion of that O lineman, and I'm going to cover myself up with the violent club arm over. Same thing happens with D-Rob right here, and I love this one right here because you see how violent it is, okay? He's going to attack the set vertical. He's going to imagine right now and visualize that the offensive lineman has set over his line. When he sets over my line, I'm going to plant, weight transfer the outside foot, and look to go in, all right? So this isn't necessarily on a man's body, but I'm giving them a body presence so they're able to rep that thing out on a body and start to throw moves with their upper body paired with the jab down below, okay? Same thing taking place right here. It's just another portion of the progression to where we're giving them a set. I'm the tackle, all right? So you got an all-pro tackle set right there. I know, y'all love it. Okay, and my man Alec Osborne, hell of a goddamn D-line coach as well, is giving LJ the guard set right there. So he's saying the guard's giving us two kicks. He's oversetting us, and we're going to go ahead and use weight transfer to win on the hip slide towards the inside. So again, you're like, if you just came into this thing, you just logged on, you're like, Coach, what's going on? We're teaching the difference between off-body footwork and on-body footwork to work the jab. Off-body footwork, again, is going to be that footwork where nobody's worried about throwing a move. On-body footwork is going to be that footwork where we're throwing a move as well with it. Now we're starting to build up to actually get to our pass rush sequence, okay? Same thing happening right there with D-Rob. And LJ and D-Rob did a really, really good on this day of the off-season program, okay? OTAs. All right, I wanted to throw that in there, okay? All right, we're getting towards the end of this thing, but I want to be able to show some drills now that challenges guys, all right? We call this thing bar fight, okay? And in bar fight, we're looking to stack moves. I don't love 97's posture, but the thing I love is his ability to be able to win to the left half and the right half of the offensive lineman. Now, you probably never throw this move unless you're just in pure beast mode or you're in the NFL, okay? But for my college guys, for my high school guys, 97 selling the double swipe. I'm saying the offensive lineman is so good that he sticks with them. And now when the offensive lineman looks to commit and turn his shoulders, 97's able to win back on the interior portion of that O lineman. This is literally and purely a test of being able to see if 97 is able to shift his weight from his insteps to insteps while he worked off of the ball of his foot in the beginning of his rush with his pass rush posture. Okay. Now, let's get into the actual moves, the moment everybody's been waiting for. Okay. What are we teaching now? And I dimmed out the jab olay because I'm focusing on the bite and go. Okay. Now, remember, the bite and go is approaching the offensive lineman, set, sell, and speed. We want to step on his toes, by his eyes, and we want to finish on the outside half with his hands or defeating his hands and working with a push to move. Okay. Here's a couple examples of this thing right here. So when you put it all together, you can see the threat with the bite, you can see the cell going vertical, and you can see us keeping active hands and feet to win on the outside portion of an offensive lineman's body. Good picture of that thing happening right away with 9-1. I don't love how high the swim is, okay, but you can see right there with that alignment, okay, and you were talking a little bit about the tilt. He's keeping that thing tight to be able to stop that offensive lineman set, okay, make him have to anchor right away, and then he's winning around the short corner right there. All right, and there's a hype coach Debo when he had hair. Okay. Same thing's happening to the left side of your screen. All right. So watch number 92. And the only thing that used to get number 92 is this. All right. On his bite and goes, he will be slightly erect. Okay. Remember, we want to make sure we keep pass rush posture, nipples at a 45 with active hands as I bite and go. But you can look at 92, directly translate that bite and go footwork with that on body footwork and pair it up to make that thing happen with his move. Bite to a swipe, bit in the corner, and then for all my tackling junkies out there, check this out. Bow, sweep the ankle tackle. Just a cowboy 9-2 was, man. Did a hell of a job, okay? But let's look back at this thing one more time, all right? And look, my man Sam talked about it. He said, talked about that post foot and that jab right there. That might be something that I've got to go ahead and I got to explore a little bit, all right? Because he gets covered up right here by 6'1", but what he does is he tells a really, really good story. He gets him to stop his set, gets him to shoot his hands, and when he does that, he's protecting the near pec, all things that we just talked about to be able to win around the short corner. Okay, gets Drake May on the ground. All right, now let's check this thing out right here, okay? My man number 93, all right, to the left side, all right? And all these things are kind of close. I'm going to get to more that are on the edge as well in a second, okay? But you can see number 93 go and work this hezzy to start. I don't like that. Okay, I don't like that. But now, this is what I'll tell you. At this point in the game, number 93 is hot off of 2 sacks. He set this thing up. This was a 3-sack game for him from the one technique, and he set this thing up to now he's playing with that offensive lineman. Remember that flow state that we just talked about, to where you're winning on the outside, you're winning on the inside. You've played with him every single way that you know how to play with him. Now 93 is in a flow state. The thing that I do like about 93 right here is he still gets that offensive lineman to commit, set, and shoot even from that tight alignment right there. All right, so even though he pitter patters his feet coming on out and covers the offensive lineman up a little bit, I love the fact that he's still able to win on that outside half, and I think that violence is the eraser with this jab right here. Sack number 3. Okay, here we go. Check out 44. And this kid's kind of falling into this jab a little bit right here. This bite and go. Okay. Sees the offensive lineman move. Braylon kind of falls into this deal. But the thing that he does do is he gets that offensive lineman threatened. He gets him to shoot his hands, and he gets him to commit to what he thinks is that edge guy coming inside. When he does that, now Braylon's able to win on the outside half. I think this is really, really freaking good by him. Winning on the outside half. He cross steps through that thing on the swipe, and now he's able to finish. It doesn't end up being a sack. Ends up being a hurry, but the ball's going backwards. All right, so I think we try to contest this thing to go ahead and get that thing back, okay, and take the ball away. All right, but I think this is a really good job by B of stepping. There's that step on the crotch right there. Okay, for the debunking and the poking holes on the theory. All right, we get the offensive lineman to shoot. That's the 2 things that we want: the set and the sitting and the shooting. Okay, and then he's able to win around the outside half of that O lineman. Good job by him. All right, now this one's gonna get a little freaky. All right, before we get into some legitimate NFL film, we can watch 5 kind of do this. But what I'm gonna say is this. All right, the bite and go can translate to other moves. Okay, before anybody's like, well, Debo, you didn't talk about bite and go to a long arm. Well, when you go bite and go, And that offensive lineman, instead of staying horizontal shoulders, goes vertical shoulders. Now we're going to look to transition to a long arm, go long arm punch, and go win that thing. Okay. So I love the bite right here. Okay, because he tells a story. I don't love how he drags that foot, that right foot, but I love the fact that he tells the story. Now, when that offensive lineman opens up, that's a showing of panic. When you get an offensive lineman to go vertical shoulders faster than he's supposed to, all right, faster than that last ditch effort, then he's showing that he's panicked because he's threatened by you, all right? And now 5 does a good job of keeping that second act, stacking those moves, being able to get to that long arm right away. Okay, we'll show 10 on this left side. Bite, cross chop, offensive lineman setting on my line. I get him to sit, set, shoot. Win towards the end. Just need the outside arm to reach to go ahead and get a strip sack right there on that one. And here's another one that I like right here, okay? The same one that we watched earlier, all right? And I think that this goes back to the theory of how should I align? Should I be tilted? Should I be a little bit more neutral? Should I be wide? Well, 10 wanted to go ahead and he wanted to align wide to bait him to set out, actually, instead of him setting out, all right, giving him the 3-4 kicks that he wanted from the interior. He got a horizontal set. He cut the engine on the crotch, all right? He wins on the outside half, and he goes and he gets the sack, okay? All right, I'm skipping this one. I do want to show this one, though, to the left side. This is sexy. Now, I'm not teaching to come across your foot and step under yourself. What I am going to say is this. That's the head and the shoulders we want. That's it. That's right there, the head and the shoulders that we want. The violent win to the outside half of the offensive lineman that we want. And then that's the finish that we want. All right? Now, he's got to get the ball on the ground, okay? But it's a hell of a pass rush move to go win. Now, okay, skipping a couple, all right, because I don't want to take up everybody's whole evening, okay? Now we get to the jab olay, and this portion will be a little bit smaller because everybody isn't as skilled to hit this, and everybody doesn't have the foundational fundamentals to hit this, okay? But this is coming off of the bite and go, all right? This is meant to come off of the bite and go. What we're going to do is capitalize off the bite and go we just hit. We're going to self-speed vertical. We're going to actually hit the bite and go, but instead of winning on the outside half, we're going to take the space that we created inside. So here's my jab olay right here, okay? If you remember 9-7, working those footwork drills, we were teaching them how to work left, how to work right, how to be able to kind of reallocate his weight, and this is what that thing turns into. In, out, in, arm over to the inside, looking to finish that thing. He thinks that it's a bite and go. He panics, literally obliterates himself, puts himself in a bad predicament. I'm talking about 65. And when you get that hunched over offensive lineman posture, then we know we're about to go to town, okay? Golden Corral, it's going to be a buffet. It's time to eat. 97 does a really good job with the head and shoulder fake, works towards the inside and looks to finish that thing off the jab olay motion. Same thing happens with 3. I'm sorry, the film is cut, but you can see him doing the same exact deal. He's been winning off the bite and go all practice long, goes to the jab olay to go ahead and win that deal right there. In, out, in to look to finish. That's a really good drill. If anybody wants to talk about this drill after, I'm more than inclined to talk about it. Okay. 91, same exact thing right there. In, out, in. And the thing that you can see from all these jab olays is the head and the shoulders are real. All right. You're getting guys that actually legitimately believe that you're going to take the outside. You're getting them to give you that extra kick, extra little bit of space, and you're taking the space that you've now created, okay, on the inside. And you can see Coach Debo jumping up on that left side right there. I'm pretty excited. All right. I'm airborne right there. Probably can't do that right now. I might hurt myself, but I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe you'll see it this year. Okay. Same thing from 3. In, out, in, being able to go ahead and win on that jab olay motion. But you can see him start with that jab and that bite, okay, to get guys to believe that that bite and go is coming, and he looks to clear himself through on the space that he's now created. Here's in full game mode to the right side, number 97 hitting the same exact move. Now we're going drill to skill, from practice to indie to the game. Here's another view of that thing. Bite, jab olay. Bite, believe it, jab olay. In, out, in motion, violence towards the inside on the space that I've actually created. And then here's another one I think is real sexy. Okay, I'm going to rewind this picture so you guys can see this one. Same exact deal right here from 97. This became his bread and butter because he always worked the bite and go, and he set guys up later on in the game with the jab olay. In, out, in, violence towards the inside half and portion of the offensive lineman's body. Step to win it in the space you've created. Okay, now last but not least, and this is the smallest portion of it all. I think I'm about to hit on an hour, so boom, we did it right. Okay, the hip slide. All right, coach, what if they try to cut my set or my rush? What if the set is trying to cut my rush right now? Okay, you're gonna hip slide that joker. You're gonna work speed, you're gonna step using your outside instep, and you're gonna push the move on the inside to go ahead and clear yourself with violent hands. That's how you're gonna defeat it. All right. So this is the reaction to an aggressive overset of an O lineman. When an O lineman sets over my line now versus speed, I'm going to hit my hip slide, okay? I'm going to press off that upfield instep, and I'm going to push to move inside with violent hands. Remember, gaining ground violently, pushing to move. Check my hip slide out, all right? We see number 92, my man Danny Strigal loaded up. We talked about that 78%, okay, in that 22, even though we're going to lift our hands up off the ground and be in a 2-point stance with it. But right now we see the violent, okay, get off, the attack of the set with the speed. And when this takes place, we can see him put that outside foot into the ground, push off of it, boom, push the move, win, protecting that near pec. All right, with that swipe right there with a clean win. All right, offensive lineman try to cut my set. What up? What are we going to do? We're going to hip slide that joker right there. Speeding in right now. Check out 93, okay? If a 39-year-old man can do it, baby, you can do it. All right, that's the motto right there on this clip. All right, number 93 is going to get off the ball, attack that thing with speed. When he sees the offensive lineman looking to go ahead and overset on his line, cut that engine, stop him from being able to progress towards the rush, he's going to plant off that outside foot, push the move inside, violent hands on the portion of the offensive lineman, and get the hit. All right. Unfortunately, the NFL is a really daggone good league, so this doesn't affect the passer too much. Okay. Same thing's happening with 25 to the left side. So now you've got an edge guy working on the inside. Okay. But the same rules apply. Same rules apply. All right. He's going to take this thing vertical. That offensive lineman's going to look to cover him up. He's going to protect the near pec, push off the outside foot, win towards the inside half of that offensive lineman. All right. And then he's able to corral him for a sack. Okay. That's a really, really good job of him by understanding I'm not going to win in that B gap. So I need to get ready to put my foot, my outside foot in the ground right now, push to move off that instep, gain necessary ground to go win, and then win on the inside half of that offensive lineman. And this often happens to be reactionary, guys. Like we're not setting up a hip slide too much, but if this happens, this means that offensive lineman got excited. He wanted to cut that rush off right now. Okay, if you want to cut my engine off, I'm gonna cut yours. Last but not least, this is where I want to end it, and then I'll stop screen share. We could talk a little bit if guys want to. Okay, consistency is the main word in the rush. All right, and this is what I mean when I tell guys this. You'll only be an elite pass rusher if you decide that you want to work at it. There's a quote. And that's where I got the dojo mentality from. Here at Michigan State, it's going to be the Agoge, all right, because that's the Spartan version of the dojo, okay? But Bruce Lee talks about his 10,000 moves, right? You always hear that quote about the 10,000 moves, and he says, I fear not the man who works 10,000 moves once, but I fear the man who works one move 10,000 times, all right? And for my young coaches or young guys on the screen, okay, as you're teaching the rush, teach guys a really good speed move, teach guys a really good power move, and teach guys a really good counter off of that right there, okay? If you can get those three things taught, they can branch out from the rush from there. But if you're talking about foundational technique, all right, you teach your footwork, you teach your hand motion. I didn't talk about any counters today, really, like spins or second acts or anything of that nature. But what you want to do is off of the speed, everything being threatened vertical, off of your on-body footwork and your off-body footwork, teaching guys a speed move, a power move, and a counter move. All right, so I appreciate it. I'm going to stop the screen share right now, and I'm going to check this chat, man, because it seems like it's some dudes talking. All right. My man Sam got the questions, baby. What did he say? What NFL players do you like that utilize the jab? That's a good question. Sam, take my number down. Where you at? All right, 410-336-5859. Because I answered like three of your questions, four of your questions. I want to make sure I get to everybody else. All right, so I DM'd you that as well. Okay. Now, all right, Nehemiah, out of the jab steps, Okay, what moves when fighting hands do you most recommend? I love the swipe. Okay, I love the swipe. And the reason why I love the swipe is because if you swipe, all right, 45 to 45, hip to hip, it protects that near pec, and that offensive lineman's looking to go ahead and attack that interior portion of your chest. Also, I love the swipe is because also another reason why I love it is because you're quick to recoil. So if you swipe, you can swipe again. I always teach my guys swipe plus one, stack the swipe because you want to be able to win twice, and that brings that cross step through. I'm not a flip the hips guy, just to let you guys know. I'm a cross step through guy. All right, are we able to get this recording once this is over? I appreciate it. It said it's good work. We'll be able to get it. My man has put a thumbs up on there too. All right. Are we supposed to run with the reach hand or reach when we get to the quarterback? I believe I don't teach run, reach. All right, but I feel like if you can put yourself in a predicament to where you can lead yourself with the reach, you'll be able to find the football. Okay, and everybody's arm length is different. All right, you see my sweater is a little washed too much. That's why my thing is kind of up here. All right, I don't have the longest arms in the world, but everybody's arm length is different. So 17, all right, Josh Sweat, they both had 83, 84-inch wingspans, long arm guys. If you're a 77-inch wingspan, you've got to understand that about yourself. I might not be able to reach where those guys can reach, all right, but I'm going to reach nonetheless because if I just get a back tip of that football and I can get that thing to come out of a quarterback's hand, that's where we can be efficient with the violence of being able to go ahead, touch that ball and get strip sacks. I'm not into sacks. I'm into taking the ball away. Sacks don't correlate to wins, but taking the ball away does. Directly correlates to wins. Okay, so that's why I'm into strip sacks and affecting the quarterback even more. Okay, I got 100 emojis. I got fire emojis from my man, Dr. Lee. I see you, Dennis. All right. Here we go. I had an awesome opportunity to speak with Coach West last week. I'm glad he didn't say anything bad about me. One question regarding the interior. How do you coach your guys to deal with an up kick with O linemen, specifically from guards? Up kick, I guess you're talking about retreating when you're talking about an up kick, or what are we talking about with an up kick? Okay, I'm gonna come back to that. All right, wax on, wax off, Josh. Nehemiah, hell yeah. All right, my man Kenny, great job tonight. I would love to. Yes, let's talk about that. Okay, the stunts in the pass rush games. Okay, please do this again. I will do it again. I'm always down to do it for Cold D line. We got to be better than the cool clinic, y'all, with the offensive line guys. We got to be better. All right. How do you rep the cross step? Boom. Okay. Now let's talk about that. When we're talking about repping the cross step, I'll get my guys on a hoop. What I'll do is I'll have a crayon attached to that near pec. What I'll get them to do is when that crayon's attached to this near pec right here, let's say that this is the crayon, this is my near pec. I'll get them to swipe and step through with the cross step, gain ground with the off foot, step through with the cross step, gain ground with the off foot, step through with the cross step over and over. So now they're swiping and they're cross stepping as they go ahead and they work. That allows them to naturally learn how to cross step through. Another thing I did in the league this year that I liked is I put him on the tire man, the little guy with the two arms like this, and we literally taught them how to cross step, boom, on the finish of the rush. In the league, they're big on pointing the toe. A lot of guys are. I'm big on outside arm, outside hip. I think that you naturally point the toe when you get that done. But nonetheless, if you can work bending that corner with that toe, okay, and work this swipe motion, it'll naturally bring you through it. And I think also that'll teach that swipe motion as well. TB, much love, baby. You an OG in this game, dog. You getting to it up there. Good luck this year. I appreciate you, man. Hit me up, for real. Carl. What's up, baby? I'll work the jabs this Thursday now. All right, now. Get them boys right. Get them boys ready. I'm going to be looking at some Ivy League football this year, okay? All right, the up kick. I want to answer that question. So whoever that was, can you talk to me? I want to answer that. I don't want to mess this up. All right. J Rob, yo, appreciate you, baby. All right. How do you teach your guys the jab without getting out of their run fit if it turns into play action? Whoa, hold on. All right. Like, this is what I am gonna say. Situational awareness. Okay. That thing is 3rd and 11. All right. I'm thinking more now. I can get into my sauce. If that thing is a play action type of down and distance, and we'll always have those broken down. It was real specific this year because like Calais Campbell don't want to hear you talk about you don't know when they're gonna run play action. So you gotta know. All right. Like I'll have them lead with a run mentality transition rush off of that. You won't get a lot of jabs in transition. You will not get a lot of jabs in transition rush. That'll be a lot more push pull. That'll be a lot more long arm to a slide. That'll be a lot more different things of that nature. Hands on, baby. Now we're getting physical with transition rush. Okay. Was somebody about to talk? My bad. Go ahead.
Yes, Coach. This is Coach Coleman. It was regarding that up kick that I was talking about.
Yeah, talk to me
Um,
about
so
that. What do you mean by up kick?
yes, sir. So it was one of the techniques I seen from Coach McNally. When you're teaching the guard to instead of sit back and wait on the defensive lineman to come to him like a typical pass set, they're firing out of their stances and they're attacking the three technique of the nose. They're coming to get him. I've
Yeah,
seen a lot of that this year in the league that I was coaching in Division 3, and it was one thing that I had to try to like work through my interior guys on how to be able to defeat that, whether it was like a side swipe or something like that.
it's hard, man. I know what you're talking about now. You're talking like I tell my guys like that's an O lineman playing D line. That's what I talk to them about. That's what you mean, right? With the set,
Yep,
he's coming
basically.
off
Yep.
the ball, trying to cut that thing
Yep.
now. He's trying to take your dome off, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, because they worried
Yes,
about
like
you threatening with speed or power, so they come to get you
correct. You've
instead
got
of
to get
sitting
him
back.
quick with the hip slide motion, being able to press off that outside foot, or this one I'm gonna tell you. You might just have to get a jump set. There you go. All right, yeah, set the tone. I tell my guys, you're either gonna win opposite of where he wants to take you, or you're gonna set the tone. So sometimes if we see that on film and we know a guy wants to try to take your dome piece off, I'm talking about going ahead and setting the tone back on him. Everybody's like, he's talking about a jump set. I'm with you now. I'm with you. You're either going to be able to go ahead and win towards the inside. So he wants to go power, I go finesse, or you go ahead and you get ready to bloody your nose up and you set the tone. Okay, so you go ahead and you go power with power, then pull off of it with the posture. So you want to get him to cut his own engine off, then you can go ahead and pull slide off of that posture if you can't win on the hip slide, if you're not fast enough. Power or clear his hands. Just like that, baby. I love it, Core. I love it. I love it. I love it, Core. I love it. Okay.
I
Holloway, I'm
appreciate
with
it,
you. Appreciate you too, man. I'm glad I can answer the question. I didn't want to be a freaking failure. Okay. Anybody else?
Hey, coach.
Talk to me.
I wanted to ask, how do you feel about working that, like a bull rush off that, like in out in the like the footwork? How do you feel working about it like a bull rush? I saw, most of these clips that you shown were mostly, finesse moves. You know, swipes, crops, chops, whatever that might be. How do you feel about just running through his face, getting him off balance? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so like I'm with it. It's just it depends on if you can set that thing up. Like I'm probably not starting the game off with the stutter bull. Okay, I saw Holloway said it. That's what you're talking about. Da, 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 and then go ahead and go to bull rush.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
probably not starting the game off there. I want to start the game off on trying to get him to believe I'm looking to capture an outside edge or an inside edge, and then being able to work off of that. Now, if he can't trust me based off of where I'm shifting my weight back and forth off a jab olay or a bite and go, then I can put that outside foot in the ground and I can go to power. So I'm with it. I love it. The thing that I do is though, I separate that move category. So you can stutter bull, but that's a power move. Like I separated that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So I think that that's something that you can use the same fundamentals off of, but it's not necessarily in the same bucket, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you, coach. I really appreciate it.
No doubt. No doubt. Anybody else? I told my wife 9:30, so I'm kind of good right now. 9:30 Eastern time. Everybody else like, dang, another hour and a half? No, no, not Central, Eastern.
Coach, you hear me?
Sure can.
Hey, Coach, um, first year guy here. Really beneficial what you're doing. What importance do you place on gaining lateral ground right after the bite and go or the olay, right? How much importance do you place on gaining lateral ground? I don't know what you guys call it, and attacking the inside hand of the O lineman.
Yeah, you've got to drill it. Like the thing that's messing me up right now is some of my drill tape didn't transfer from Arizona, so I'm missing some of that stuff. But what I really wanted to be able to show was I would stand in one spot. When I was teaching these guys at first, I would stand in one spot and get them to literally transfer their weight and win on the inside hand. So that's something that I think is huge. And you're talking about gaining ground. I just called it weight transfer. And if you can find a better word for it, like copyright it and send it to me. And I'll have to mention you every time that I say it in my meetings. Okay. But like weight transfer off of the outside foot and being able to win on the inside half should be just as violent as being able to bite and go and win on the outside half. That's what I would always tell my guys. So it looks synonymous whether I was violent on the inside half or violent on the outside half, if that made sense. But yes, weight transfer, gain ground. And sometimes I would even have them bound to learn how that feels to go that way, but also gain ground vertical at the same time.
Look, I'm not sure if anybody's got any more questions, but I'll say this, man. I love that you did like the progression with the get off. Like that's the most important thing I think when you're talking about any pass rush move is the get off. Um, I'll say this, man. Like I love the buzzwords. Like that's how these kids relate. Is like how can you teach them really quickly to understand? Hey, let's say whether it's you're biting inside or get in their bubble, whatever it may be, just like buzzwords to paint that picture. It's like I don't know, like it correlates with these kids. Like if you can paint a picture, it's a lot easier, is what I've come to realize, especially like high school kids. Like if they didn't come from programs that did a lot of the progression or the teaching, you have to develop them to get to speak your language. Something I also noticed was like with the in out in was like with the interior guys was like I noticed a lot of like club arm overs. Is there something like you progress with the interiors like when they're split up and they're doing in out in, or is that something you kind of do where it's always paired with something?
Yeah, so how I teach mom, and maybe we'll do this in another thing. I can show how I teach the whole family of moves. So I start off, and these guys just started it, and I got on them about it. Like I took them in the room, the film room, because they kept bugging me about pass rush, kept bugging me, and I'm like, all right, cool. This is where you start. If you guys are gonna go out there and do extra work by yourselves, it's a chop rip. That's it. And they're looking at me like I'm crazy because it's like, well, coach, we know how to do this, we know how to do that, but it's the Karate Kid effect. Like we're gonna go chop rip, then we're gonna go club rip, then we're gonna go club arm over. So now all I'm doing is I'm pairing that footwork with a foundational move that they've already been taught within the club arm over. Then we'll get to like swipes. Then we'll get to all these different things. And at the end of spring ball, I always use with my guys. My guys in the league will tell you, guys who play for me will tell you, they always laugh about it. I don't teach the fun stuff until they earn it. So like it's spring ball practice 12, you know what I'm saying? Spring ball
Yeah.
practice 10, they're beat the crap. And they're like, here's another move of the day. Hold on, we're doing cross chop today? Yeah, we're doing cross chop today. It's a way to invigorate them and get them excited. So every spring practice, I'll teach a move of the day. Hey, swipe. Hey, bite and go, jab olay, stutter bull pull, like all these different things. And as we go through it, I'll urge them to use the move of the day within one-on-ones to set up other moves that they've used in the past. That doesn't mean you can't use other moves, but that club arm over was a foundational move that was taught, and they just paired it up with the footwork portion of it all.
You gotcha. I think Coach Lee had a
Dennis,
question. Yep.
Dr. Lee, great stuff, brother. Question: if they see the guy oversetting and work the jab or lay back inside, and then they realize they're working back inside against a slide, okay, how do you coach guys to be able to look to counter that? I don't want you to counter. Honestly, I want you to keep on going, okay, because the guy on the opposite side who's got the man side should should look to win his one-on-one and pick for you to wrap. So if you look like da 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 da, and now I'm coming inside and I've got the center, congratulations, great. Now let's go to power on that dude because that opposite D lineman should be looking to find his near hip and allowing you to wrap with vision. Okay, now we're getting into schematics. All right, the Michigan guys on this thing are going to start recording me. Okay, but that's how I feel about it, Dennis. Never let the rush die.
Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you, dog.
I had a quick
Congrats
question.
too. Talk to me,
Thank
coach.
you.
What you got
I
with
just
San
wanted to
Francisco in
know,
the back?
are we able to get some of your your drill work, the off body, the on body? I think that was really good. I know you only had an hour. You moved pretty fast through it, but I've been watching you since you was at Minnesota. So your work is great.
I appreciate you, dog. I do. Well, I think this thing is gonna be posted, right? The whole
Yep, it will be.
hour of it. What I'll do is this though, too. All right, I'm coming back on here, okay? Because this was great. Maybe I just talk through the drills at a slower pace and I go pass rush and run game. Would
Okay.
that work, coach? So get this link so you can go back through it, but also I will come back on and then look, like, here's another thing. Y'all take my number down. For the guys who aren't in the Big Ten conference, some of you guys can come up and friggin' get up with me. You know what I'm saying? So like hit me up 410-336-5859. I'll put my number in there.
Yeah, can you go?
Hey,
Yeah, you move fast.
my bad. I know. I move fast because I feel like I'm boring everybody. So
Man,
I'm like, da, 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 da,
I
da,
can't speak
da.
for everybody, but I get on here, man. Like you said, you gotta set that time up. Like, hey, honey, like this, I gotta learn this.
No, I'm with you. Hit me though, dog. Hit me. I don't want to look. An hour seemed like it was a lot, but then I looked up at the time and it said 48, 8:48. I said, oh snap. I was like, let me go ahead and start clicking this thing kind of fast. So
Good, bro.
no, I appreciate it. Just hit me. Hit my phone.
Let me say this,
Yes, sir.
Coach, before do you got any plugs or any shout outs you want to say about like Michigan State? Was your D line or spring ball, anything, whatever you want to give, man?
Yeah, so like here's the deal. As you guys kind of watch us and keep us on your radar, it's just having the idea of violence and bringing toughness back to East Lansing. So that's the biggest thing in the world for me. Like we talk about it, and Coach Bulla, if you want a soundbite clip, man, here it is. Shout out Coach Max Bulla. Okay, he taught me this on day one. He said toughness was born in East Lansing. All right, we don't take a backseat to anybody. Okay, so on this thing right here, I'm looking at it. I'm wearing this MSU stuff. Okay, I got this Spartan on my chest. I ain't taking a backseat to anybody. We teaching this drill work. We're teaching violence. We're teaching winning on the outside half of a man. Okay, hey, toughness was born here, and I'm adapting to it, and it's literally coursing through my veins now as a Michigan State Spartan. All right, to coach it. The kids have it. All right, the coaches have it. We're excited to see what we're gonna do. So I'm not gonna be on here and say this is how many games we're gonna win. This is what I got prediction and all those crazy things. But what I'm gonna say is toughness was born in East Lansing. And if you want to be a part of something tough, here's the place to be.
Brother, well, I appreciate so much we want to do this, and definitely love to get you back on whenever that we can get our schedules lined up, brother. And I don't know, man. I just appreciate you so much being willing to do this. And I remember we talked a few days ago about when this page was very small and just kind of
Mhm.
growing this puppy, and excited for the future of what was going to happen, man.
I mean, look, hey guys, this is the goal. Everybody on here is to make this bigger than the cool clinic, and then to make it bigger than everything else. And look, he don't want to take no credit for it. This guy kicks butt, okay? And he's built this thing when it had what 100 followers. You followed me, not even that,
Yeah,
90 something.
yeah.
Now it's got like 10,000, 10.3 thousand. Like it's ridiculous. It's really cool, man. It's really cool. So let's blow this thing up and let's start doing some speaker series and keep this thing going. And what I would do is I encourage the young guys who haven't done as many clinics, like get your butt on here and learn how to coach in front of many people because you'll find a job doing that. My buddy Elite Terry did a clinic one time and it got passed on from one guy to another guy and he ended up as the O-line coach of Hawaii. Now he's the O-line coach at Oregon. You don't know how it could change your life doing an online clinic. You don't know who's watching it. Okay. So I didn't know as many people would be on as we're on there today. It was everybody from high school to NFL coaches on this thing today, which was really, really cool. All right. So I'm just blessed to be able to continue to share my knowledge of the game. And I want to say this, I don't know everything, guys. I'm not some D-line guru. I'm still learning myself. All right, I got some humility. Dr. Lee, who was asking a question, he knew me when I was freaking 20 years old. All right, 20 years old. I had a lot more hair, Dennis, than I do now. All right, so you'll see what this game does to you, but it's the lifeblood of this thing, and I'm just happy, and I praise God, and I just give all praise to Jesus Christ that I'm able to do this, and I'm able to continue to coach this game, bro. So I appreciate you guys. I'm gonna try to make it back to my wife about 5 minutes early. So anybody got any last questions? Thanks, man. I appreciate y'all.
I
All right,
appreciate
hit
it.
me up if you need me.
Thank
On
you, Coach.
you.
Have a good one.
All right, take it easy,
Appreciate you
coach.
guys.
Appreciate y'all.
See y'all, man.
Yep.